Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video. Just first off, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, not the literal one because there isn't one. But I have been gone for 2 weeks now. I made a post about it last week, my most recent community post as of this video going out. I may have actually put out the thumbnail for this video yesterday, but in my last video I mentioned, even in the description of the video, that WillyMac's second video will be out around the same time, which hasn't exactly happened. There's been a lot going on, and as of writing this, WillyMac's official second part hasn't actually come out yet, though a second video has, which was a response. I also left an update in the comments of my last video, which shared some videos since that one, which are the videos we're going to be going into today. Sometimes an accurate representation of an audience reception is a loss or gain of followers in regards to recent events and/or responses. She has lost over 1,000 subscribers in the past month, which implies her audience aren't too happy with her actions or response. Although her Twitter has seen her gain followers in fact. Both responses have around the 40% mark of likes to dislikes. And that is the numbers briefly. Belle responded in video form with my response and why YouTube agrees with me. And before I get into this video, there's points made in the next section by WillyMac that I'm not going to talk about in this section because it will just be repeating what was said. Although the title of the video is a big point that I don't think I should skip over, but we'll talk about it when Belle mentions it in her video. Belle starts off by saying, almost at the very start, this.
This creator went out of his way to paint me in the literal worst light that he possibly could. Like, I started watching the video and there was zero objectivity. There was no mention of why I might have the stance that I had.
Which is odd considering WillyMac's video does. Even if you want to, for whatever reason, disregard him bringing multiple pieces of content into the discussion, like talking about Belle's videos and comparing them with other pieces of content, he even says in his video, 10 minutes in, that your videos started off as caring, and that you even cited your own experience with an eating disorder. It's not like this is just like Belle doing this for no reason.
Like Hello Leash or Angelica Oles, her videos when first touching on a topic start off sweet, genuine concern.
One of the things that really has always made me upset about this whole Eugenia situation is how everyone on the internet is always saying like, oh, you should just eat a burger, like, what's wrong with you? Like, you look so gross, your body looks disgusting, you're so skinny, you're gonna die. Those comments are completely unhelpful. Completely unhelpful. Oh my god.
Belle even cites her own experience with her own eating disorder.
I shared the stance that this started out as a genuine concern for Eugenia's health, so I'm not sure we saw the same video. Also, the thing about WillyMac being paid to make the video,
this was literally a hit piece meant to smear me as much as he possibly could. Like, if I didn't know any better, I would have thought this creator was getting paid to do this because of the amount of vitriol that he had towards me in the video.
this is just ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure he'd appreciate a sponsor, but he has to declare that the video is sponsored in that case.
This creator also framed Katie Morton as some kind of hero. This Katie Morton. Now, either with all of his objectivity, he just didn't care about letting his audience know what kind of person she is, or he just did zero research into her.
The mention of Katie Morton is an interesting one, and it's definitely deflection. Although WillyMac did say before Belle's video came out that his next video will focus on Katie also, and talk more about it. But I guess we can't have all the facts, can we, Belle?
Another point that I found really interesting is his insistence that I am a tea channel. Now, if you look at this clip from his video, what do you notice about every content creator on the screen right now? They're all either a woman or they're LGBT. So, let me get this straight. If you talk about current events on YouTube, then you're a tea channel. Well, as long as you're LGBT or a woman. But if you're a straight guy, then it's just commentary, bro.
Also, the difference between tea and commentary is something that has multiple definitions to multiple people. I like to think of myself as commentary because I am commenting about things in length and detail, usually. Whereas tea channels usually don't do that, to my knowledge. Although you're free to brand your channel either way, it doesn't really matter, we're all content creators at the end of the day. She briefly mentions the debate that was going to happen.
I also reached out on Twitter to debate this guy on the whole Eugenia Cooney thinspo content situation, and this was the objective and intellectual response that I got. So no, I will not be debating him.
Which was a bit strange, saying you'll debate someone who you blocked.
I have never, ever called for YouTube to ban people simply because they have EDs.
She goes on to say this, which is also a bit strange, given the petition that she was promoting purely mentions the reason that they want her removed is because of her weight. You can say all day that it's about the Discord stuff, but that petition that you, Belle, shared is not to do with that.
By that logic, since I have an ED, I would also need to be deplatformed, and I would also have to advocate for the deplatforming of anyone who suffers with an ED. And I would have to title my videos, "Everyone who suffers with an ED should be banned from YouTube," or something like that.
The reason why you wouldn't do it is because it doesn't make sense. And it also makes sense that you wouldn't do it because it comes across as targeted harassment at this point. Also, the WillyMac section will go through about why YouTube actually doesn't agree with her.
And YouTube agrees with me. And I know this because they took down one of my videos on Eugenia Cooney.
Interestingly enough though, here,
the reason they had a problem with my video was because I was allegedly promoting eating disorders. And after I talked to them about the hypocrisy with that and how I was very obviously not doing that, they reinstated my video.
she actually says why YouTube doesn't agree with her. They reinstate the video. It's a moot point. Also, I don't get the age restriction portion of the debate about deplatforming. It's not like minors are the only ones who can have EDs, and in fact, age restriction on YouTube is 15 plus, to my knowledge. Meaning that the people you're trying to protect in your stance could see it anyway, to some degree. The only way it would be out of everyone's eyes would be if the content weren't visible, which is deplatforming.
Now to address the Nikocado avocado situation. You know, I knew even before I posted that video that people were going to intentionally misrepresent what I said, which is why I included this. Again, I think it's extremely important to acknowledge that Nikocado avocado and people like him, such as like Amberlynn Reed and other people who do these like binge eating content videos online. I don't think that should be normalized. I don't think it's healthy. I don't like to see it. I want to see people being healthy and having a good relationship with their body and with food. But I also think that there is already a lot of information out there about why that behavior is not good. And I think a lot of people sort of downplay the effects that eating have on people. And I don't think that that is a responsible or okay thing to do, especially considering some of these immediate dangers to your life that eating can put you in.
I think Belle's Nikocado avocado section of this video is interesting, and what she's presented in this video about it is valid, what she has shown. It's not her glorifying him or people like him, although one good point doesn't make the rest invalid. Although in saying that, I don't think the Nick versus Eugenia argument is the best road to go down. Like saying you don't think Nick influences as many people to look like him.
Oh, Belle said it's okay to look like Nikocado avocado. Which, no, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that considering how the media portrays people who look like Eugenia versus people who look like Nikocado, I think that there is a very obvious difference in the influence that Eugenia's content is going to have over people.
Sorry, but statistically, he has more views than her and subscribers even, and more than double the lifetime views. If we're giving them an even playing field. We can fight about demographics all day, but until we see actual analytics from both of them, I'm not sure that's a fair debate. I do agree that they're both dangerous if the right person is watching. Also, probably should have said it a lot earlier, but in regards to the Discord drama in relation to Eugenia, I know I briefly spoke about it in the last video, but I don't agree with the behaviour of those individuals at all. Also, that Nikocado video and other videos of yours, Belle, that you reference, where are they? You talk about not taking things out of context, but you showed that clip without telling the audience what the full video is or where they can watch it. There's not a link in the description to the Nikocado videos. I mean, sure, you can go to your channel and search Nikocado avocado and find them, but the only way you'd really know, I think, outside the title would be matching the outfit to the video.
This creator also tried to use the point that one time another YouTuber stayed with Eugenia for a couple days like 5 or 6 years ago, as if this is proof positive that there cannot be any abuse going on in that house.
Willy had a guest on to speak about them staying at Eugenia's house, and although Belle talks about it, I feel like that should be left to Willy to talk about, and I'm not gonna talk about it in this bit.
Now, about the panties matching the eyeshadow comment that I made in one video one time that they keep bringing up over and over and over again, as if it was the only point that I made in that video. If you don't think that that's valid, if you don't think that that is evidence of Eugenia doing it on purpose, that's completely fine.
The matching eyeshadow thing is just ridiculous, and regardless of whether or not it was intentional, Belle did say that it matched, and Willy showed via Photoshop that the colours are not the same, which Belle doesn't mention at all. She just speaks about how it seemed intentional regardless. Nice deflection, I guess.
But what I do find weird is I brought up a lot of other points in that video, and they really only harp on that one individual thing.
You know why they harp on about it? Because you were wrong. A bit like you're not going to make a response video like this and talk about how WillyMac was right. You will say they got this and this wrong, right? Also, it was highlighted a lot more because someone you associated with at the time made an entire video about it, citing you as a source. So maybe blame them if you want to play that game. Although other things are mentioned, they largely don't revolve around WillyMac's video and instead talk about Eugenia's content, in a way that to me doesn't relate to the video she's responding to. There will of course be a link to this video in the description below, as long as it stays up. Everything that I haven't mentioned in this video is most likely mentioned in the next section, and I will expand upon when I feel I should. The video is entitled When Caring Becomes Hate. And past the recap, which goes until roughly the 3-minute mark, unlike Belle, Willy plays parts of her video and then responds. Like, here's what she had to say and then here's my counter for it, which Belle didn't do in her first video. She used very minimal footage from WillyMac's video, which unfortunately for her, probably doesn't help her argument. Not that it would matter to people who had seen the initial video, but you can't just assume that people know what you're talking about. This is the first instance of me not mentioning something in Belle's first video until WillyMac spoke about it in his response. Belle mentioned that the clips he showed in a collage were people from the LGBT community or were women.
In Belle's 30-minute response to me, I only appear in it one time, and it's to say that I hate women and hate LGBT.
Now, if you look at this clip from his video, what do you notice about every content creator on the screen right now? They're all either a woman or they're LGBT.
You can get that from this image? I'm gonna be honest, I don't know any of these people's sexual orientation. They were just the first ones that popped up when I typed in Gabby Hanna. The whole point of this slide was to show this.
Gabby Hanna.
I'm just making a goof that all the T channels are obsessed with Gabby Hanna.
He then goes on to talk about what a T channel is and brings interesting insight, in my opinion.
She acts like I invented the term T-channel to use as a slur. I didn't. It's how these creators describe their own content.
We're the hot tea.
Another tea to spill.
As a tea channel.
When spilling the tea.
Some hot tea.
This channel's name is T-Spill. Here for the tea. What determines if you're a T channel or not is simply who you cover. If you talk about makeup drama or Gabby Hanna or Jeffree Star, that would make you a T channel. That's why I've been referring to myself as a T channel since covering Gabby Hanna.
Something that I didn't pick up on until now is that WillyMac refers to himself as a T channel, which may seem insignificant but is interesting in the grand scheme of things because it says, look, I'm not a woman or LGBT and I class myself as a T channel. He then brings up a term I wish I had heard earlier, whataboutisms, which Belle uses heavily in this video. His first real mention of this is in relation to Katie Morton, which he says this.
Belle reverts to a lot of whataboutisms when trying to debunk my video. It's a logical fallacy used to divert the conversation to an unrelated topic. For example, I give a simple timeline of events that includes Katie Morton. Of course it does. She's a major character. Belle responds with, well, what about the BetterHelp scandal she was in? What about it? How does that relate to the conversation?
This is followed by more examples, including Sloane. There's more, but the video will be linked in the description for you to watch for yourself. He goes on to talk about how she was saying that he should have made the video sooner, which is an interesting argument. I mean, it's not like bad takes become incapable of being criticized due to time. In fact, I would say this is semi-recent.
She responded with, well, you made your video too late, and Willy, you followed me on Twitter.
But what I find really weird is he followed me on Twitter a few months ago, and I've had the same stance publicly this entire time.
I know that one of my favorite sayings is that the behavior of the past becomes the behavior of the present when nothing changes. And although you could say, well, it was a while ago, it's not the behavior of the present, regardless of it being this year, Belle's stance has seemingly not changed, implying that this is still the behavior of the present. I showed in my last video how she was going on Twitter. That says to me that it is still present behavior. Although I think it's fair to say that it likely wouldn't have been presented again if it weren't for WillyMac's video, although that doesn't make it okay. I couldn't have put this next part any better myself.
So let me reiterate. Belle wants to ban Eugenia Cooney for uploading pro-anorexic content. Her evidence for this is YouTube thumbnails and inspirational quotes. When you actually look at Eugenia's content, what is it? Video games, clothes, and makeup. She's doing the same thing as everyone else on this website. So what's the only difference between Eugenia and any other content creator? Well, it's that she's anorexic. That's why people are saying you want to ban her just for having an ED.
Although to Belle's credit, she doesn't release the video about the petition until a while after making the videos about the Discord stuff. So she could say that that's why she wants it removed, although that's not why the petition was made, as I've gone over previously in this video. Another thing that I briefly mentioned, which WillyMac goes into more detail about, is the part about Belle saying YouTube agrees with her, saying this.
And now I want to get to the title of her video, and why YouTube agrees with me. Spoiler alert, she's just lying. She's just making it up.
If you look at YouTube's community guidelines, you'll see that they actually agree with me. If you look at their community guidelines page, you'll see that there's a bunch of different ones, but if you scroll down, you'll see one that says harmful and dangerous content. And if you read through it, it says eating disorders. Content that praises, glorifies, or encourages viewers to imitate anorexia or other eating disorders.
As we've discussed, Eugenia's content doesn't do that, but Belle just doesn't seem to understand. If only she had a very public conversation with YouTube over this exact same thing. Oh wait, she did! Thanks for responding, Team YouTube. Hundreds of viewers have reported Eugenia Cooney's channel in the last 2 weeks alone. She violates your TOS. YouTube actually responded. Thanks for the info. Mind following her Twitter account so we can move the conversation to DMs? Belle accepted, and this is what she relayed of the conversation. YouTube just said they can't identify any TOS violations with Eugenia. Wow, it looks like YouTube doesn't agree with you. They agree with me. Interesting how you left this out of your video.
It's also worth mentioning, which a lot of people have, that the YouTube bots get things wrong sometimes, whether they false flag videos or their UI is clunky. Sure, it's less than ideal, but it does exist, and there's no point in acting like it doesn't.
She then says this means ad revenue is more important to YouTube than protecting their community.
Also, the argument by Belle that Eugenia makes more money so they're protecting her is just silly. She hasn't broken TOS and that's why she's still online. The argument about parents monitoring what their children do online is also valid. That's why YouTube Kids exists, and age restriction. YouTube has systems in place to make the site as safe as they can. Of course, things fall through the cracks. But where YouTube messes up, others should try and fill in the missing bits, like, as it's mentioned, blocking a channel. That's all I'm going to talk about in regards to WillyMac's response. Belle responded to this video with the amazingly titled Exposing WillyMac's Manipulation Point by Point. Well hey, right off the bat, there's a plus. Mentioning who you're talking about so your audience has more of a chance to see the content you're responding to. So that's something, I guess. She starts off the video by saying this.
So as I'm sure you're now aware, there's a small group of creators out there who are trying very vigorously to spread the narrative that I hate Eugenia Cooney for whatever reason, and that I'm trying to bully and harass her in order to foment hate against me.
Which, although it's up for debate, Willy's last video was literally titled When Concern Turns to Hate. The narrative hasn't changed. She once again, early on in the video, brings up the predators in the Discord server discussion.
Me calling out the predators in her Discord and trying to hold her accountable for the damaging effect that she has on her audience, which is largely made up of minors, is all just because I'm mean and evil and I like to bully a fellow ED sufferer. This narrative is so disingenuous, it's honestly disgusting.
I haven't seen anyone try and give the people involved in that a pass. I agree that they should be held accountable, and although this doesn't fit chronologically, Belle has since posted that there is things being done about it involving the law, so that's good. Eugenia's Discord also, to my knowledge, no longer exists. And sure, there's a point in saying that vulnerable people shouldn't be put in that position in the first place, but that's not what the series of videos has been about. It's another whataboutism, and many could be thrown at you or anyone, but it's off topic. As I said, I think the topic is important, and I'm glad that something is being done about it, but it's not mentioned in the criticism of your content towards Eugenia. Also, I'm just going to play this clip. I'll speak about it, but I think it speaks for itself that it's a bit ridiculous.
First, I want you to take a look at this thumbnail and see how intentionally manipulative Willy is being. He took a picture of Eugenia crying about something that had nothing to do with me, and yet he's here trying to paint the picture that somehow I'm responsible for Eugenia crying here. He also went and found the angriest looking still he could from my video, again, to try to paint this image in people's brains that I'm angry and it's making Eugenia cry.
But to Belle's credit, she actually goes over his content in this video. And I go as far to say that he's saying that it made a decent impact was because Keemstar shared it is valid to some extent.
Guys, #1 T channel here, and my god, for 30,000 views, we had a hell of an impact.
You had a hell of an impact because Keemstar decided to signal boost your slander with his 3 million follower plus Twitter account.
Although WillyMac does say in his own video that Eugenia liked the video and showed a clip, which I can only assume would also help, but still credit to WillyMac for having an impact. Also, the next thing about toxic positivity is strange to me. She's pretending to be happy as a way to harm minors because, according to Belle it seems, you can't possibly look like Eugenia and be happy, I guess.
Eugenia Cooney can't even write a positive message without Belle villainizing her.
Yes, it's called toxic positivity or fake positivity, and it's a thing. And it's something Eugenia has been doing for a very, very long time, and you can verify that by checking her Twitter. It's just another way for Eugenia to deflect any criticism or any concern for her, and also harm minors in the process.
Belle then goes on to talk about body checking and how Willy won't talk about it. I mean, if someone is of the opinion that someone isn't doing something, in this case body checking, then it would make no sense that they would discuss it more than just saying that they don't think it's happening.
I find it really weird that in all of his videos, I don't think I've ever heard him mention body checking, which again, Eugenia does. That's what her content is.
She also goes on to show a clip of someone talking about Eugenia's body checking, which is somewhat interesting, and she shows a few clips that could be considered body checking. Although given the size of Eugenia's room, I don't actually know if she could walk back far enough to just show the shoes without lifting her leg. There may be footage showing otherwise. If that's the case, then I'm wrong and I admit it. She decides to talk about the whole situation with YouTube agreeing with her. I'll just play this for you for context.
Her video is titled My Response and Why YouTube Agrees With Me. They definitely don't, but we'll get to that.
Where's your proof that they don't? Because you spend a lot of time in your video going over the need for having proof and receipts for everything, but I don't see you bringing forward any proof or receipts for what you said in your video.
Despite WillyMac talking about it and her video getting reinstated, which she interestingly admitted in this video, I have 5 words and a picture for you as proof. Eugenia Cooney's channel being online. That's the proof, because if it was against TOS, it would be down. YouTube did not find anything wrong with her channel. That is how YouTube don't agree with you. WillyMac even showed receipts for it, so I don't know what you're talking about. And also, I am aware that like with copyright strikes, you need like 3 of them. And with, I think, community guideline strikes, you also need 3 of them to get your channel taken down. But as Eugenia has so many videos that are seemingly like the same, and Belle says they're like body checking and stuff, I feel like there would be at least 3 that would fall under the same kind of category that Belle is talking about.
Belle's 30-minute response to me, I only appear in it 1 time, and it's to say that I hate women and hate LGBT.
Again, another lie. I never said that he hates women or LGBT people. What I said was that he is dismissive of content creators who are women or LGBT, and that he calls our content tea rather than commentary. Now, if you look at this clip from his video, what do you notice about every content creator on the screen right now? They're all either a woman or they're LGBT.
Also, no, Belle didn't say that WillyMac hated LGBT people or women, but it was implied by Belle saying that they were chosen to be shown for that reason, and given how you portrayed the video as bad and his comments towards Sloane, for example, it's also implied that WillyMac doesn't like LGBT people and women. That, to my knowledge, is the angle. Also, about 8 minutes into the video, she mentions Sloane and says this.
Bro, he literally cited a tarot card reading as proof that Eugenia's parents are abusive.
That's fine about the psychic, but my original point still stands, because Sloane has called out numerous powerful predators with his platform, and that's a hell of a lot more than you're doing with yours.
Which once again is the whataboutism, because WillyMac was criticizing his coverage of Eugenia, and in that particular instance using a tarot card reading for proof, oddly no mention from Belle of Sloane taking down his video. How convenient. Also, not going to show the video for this bit, but Katie Morton was an important part of the saga, hence why she was mentioned. You can say she's not a credible source, but then how many people in the YouTube community shouldn't be referenced despite being a part of the topic at hand? That's whataboutism, by the way. That's the word for this video as well. Whataboutism.
You literally called D'Angelo Wallace of all people, the biggest douchebag on the internet.
What about it? How the fuck does it relate to the conversation?
It relates to the conversation because not only does it show how hypocritical you are with what channels you decide to label as tea channels, but it also shows how biased you are with what subjects you decide to cover.
Also, every creator is biased with what they do and don't talk about, seriously. For example, Belle's going into talking about politics on YouTube. Well, given that logic, you better cover everything or she's not being objective. There simply isn't enough time to cover everything. The world moves fast, the news moves fast. Things fall through the cracks. Unless of course Belle is biased, then that would make sense as to why she does and doesn't cover things. He goes on to talk about the petition, which I think we've spoken enough about in this video already, so I'm going to skip past that bit. Also, you know, I don't mind being pedantic, but saying that she's doing the same thing as everyone else on this website and then showing a clip from you now is not a good way to back up your point because it's not YouTube. And there's more talk about the whole TOS thing, which we've been over more than once already in this video. Parts of Belle's response seem to go in circles. Also, Belle, I want to play this.
Seeing as usually when I'm doing a video, I'm just sitting in a chair talking about things like I normally would. Anytime I do talk about eating disorders, I make sure to add a ton of disclaimers and I make sure to talk about why it's bad. And so, you know, it's very, very obviously clearly not Thinspo, and anything that I do think could be triggering, I always censor.
Trigger warnings don't automatically make your content not go against TOS. Not that yours did, as it was reinstated, but triggers are for the audience's comfort. They don't suddenly make you immune to not breaking rules if you upload something bad enough. That's a hypothetical, by the way. I'm not saying that she would do that. Also, that video has pro-ana in the title and the thumbnail. You can say it's safe or whatever, and sure, it's meant to be educational, but if you put up just the thumbnail, how many people are going to think it's about awareness if they don't know who you are? Or haven't seen the video, of course. No video inserts for the next few points, but the argument about them not doing anything because of revenue is an interesting point, although I'm not sure it can be argued either way for certain, because some creators with large followings have had videos removed and channels removed even. I know I said there'd be no video inserts, but one example I just want to give is PewDiePie's Cocomelon video. Malicious intent. Well, I mean, the definition means to cause harm intentionally, and I think that trying to promote the loss of someone's income is that. Through the petition, for example. Also, the parenting aspect of all this is something that I think is very complicated, because it's not one size fits all, but in an ideal world it would be. There's YouTube Kids out for a reason, as I've stated. I am not a parent, so I don't think it's fair for me to comment on that kind of thing, so I'll just leave it there. I know I spoke about it previously, but I'm not going to go in more depth, you know. I didn't cover everything, so if you've seen these videos and have thoughts on things I didn't mention, I'll happily have a conversation in the comment section below about that stuff. There's a few other things kind of unrelated, like how Belle was saying that for a while that YouTube was stopping her uploading because she made videos about Eugenia. There's a live stream where she talks about it with another creator, but that's not something I really want to cover in this video. And never say never, of course, but I highly doubt I'll ever make a video about that. Just before I go, as I said, it's been 2 weeks just writing and watching these videos. Felt a bit strange after not doing it for a bit. But yeah. Hopefully you do enjoy this. Thanks for watching. And peace.